Hey everybody, how's it going? So I got a good one for you today. I've been meaning to do this for a while. If you're just getting into running saw, maybe you've been doing it for a while, or you're getting into modifying them, how to tune a chainsaw is a really good thing to know. And I'm still learning every day. I'm constantly playing with my tune. First, I'm going to go over some things that will affect your tune. Then I'll go over some terminology around tuning and running a saw and what they mean. And then I'm going to go through a step-by-step process of how to do a basic tune on your saw. So a couple of things that can affect the tune on your saw is your elevation, the temperature outside, the fuel level in your tank, the cleanliness of your air filter, how dirty your fuel filter is, among quite a few other things. Like if you do an exhaust mod, your saw is going to want more fuel. If you upgrade your air filter, it's probably going to want a little more fuel. Every change you make is going to require a tune. Depending on how much that tune is, depends on the change. So some of the terms that you're going to hear running a saw are lean, fat, rich, lean drop-off, four-stroking, and the point of no return are the ones that come to mind. So what lean is you're not getting enough fuel, which in other words is too much air. And since your oil is in your fuel, that makes a big difference in power and longevity, right? So if you're not getting enough fuel as well as oil, the engine's going to run really hot. On top of that, you're not going to make as much power because you're not getting enough fuel. And combined with the added heat, you're going to lose power. Now, when you're running too fat or rich, there's an abundance of fuel. You're getting too much of it. The saw is going to be a little more blurbly. You're going to have fuel puking out your muffler. You're going to go through more fuel. If you're running bad fuel and oil, you're going to have more carbon buildup. And you're not going to have the best power or throttle response. So I think I've seen a test done on a dyno that you can have a difference of, on a 70cc saw, of 3 horsepower between a good tune and a bad tune. So having a tuning screwdriver is really helpful. It's like next to sharpening a chain, in my opinion. Now, one important thing that I forgot to mention in the beginning of the video was to do with your low side. So the low side is always the screw that is closest to the cylinder, whether it's on a Stihl, Husqvarna, Homelite, Dolmar, always on the cylinder side. And the low side controls the whole circuit. So if your low side is too lean, then your high side is automatically going to be too lean. So it's important to tune your low side first and then tune your high side. So the first step to tuning your chainsaw is that you're going to need to fire it up and warm it up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I will walk you through how I tune the low side and then how I tune the high side. Okay, so now that the saw is warm, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it back up, and I'm going to begin turning in the low side. So I'm going to be turning it clockwise or right, which is then closing the fuel circuit. right? So that's going to cause the low side to run leaner. And what you're going to listen for is when it starts to stutter and it sounds like it's going to stall. And that's called lean drop off. And then I'm going to walk it back until it just settles down a little bit, but it still sounds like it's just starving for fuel. And you'll kind of figure out where you like it. I'm sure everybody likes it a little different. And then after that, I'm going to use the big screw, which is the idle screw, or idle speed screw, which is directly linked to your throttle linkage to control the speed of the idle. You don't want it too slow, and you don't want it spinning your chain. So there's kind of a sweet spot. The more you play with it, the more comfortable you'll get with it, and you'll kind of find where you like it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So one thing I noticed right there when I tried turning the low side all the way in is it didn't actually kill the saw. So either I didn't completely remove one of the limiters on the low side, or I need to readjust the float pin in the carburetor. But you could hear it wasn't happy when I was turning it all the way in. It gets high and pitched. So after that I walked it back out, and I noticed the chain wasn't fully stopping when I got off the throttle, so I walked the speed back out, and that didn't help it. So then I fattened up the low side a little bit more. I added a little more fuel. And then what you want is right as soon as you let off the throttle, you want the saw to return to idle without any issues. If it hesitates and it ring-zings a little bit, then your low side is a little too lean. So next I'm going to demonstrate what the point of no return is. Now I realized I did forget to talk about four-stroking and the point of no return in the beginning of the video. So four-stroking is a term that describes the sound that the saw makes when the amount of fuel is limiting its RPM, wide open throttle. Now, it comes across in the sound of like a drrrr, so you'll hear wah, drrrr, right? Now, if it's too rich, it'll just blubber, and I'll show you what too rich runs like. So we're gonna take the low side, or the high side, we're gonna open it half, one turn, okay? This is what too rich is gonna sound like. And then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna turn it till it's too lean. You won't be able to hear that at the top of the power band. And when you're standing presently, and you might be able to hear it over the microphone, the actual sound wave, rich is low, and then a proper tune is it sounds closer to head level, but you'll hear the sound, the pitch go way up. Like literally you will hear it go up. And when it goes way too far up, you're getting too lean. I don't know if that makes full sense, but I'll try and demonstrate it. Now you hear that brrr, brrr, that's super, super rich. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to turn in that screw, and we're gonna rev it a couple more times and see what it sounds like. So I'm gonna turn it back to where it was. I'm gonna go a turn back in. Let's see how it sounds. Now you can hear how that rattling sound at the top of at wide open throttle moved higher up. It sounds leaner now. Now I'm gonna go another turn in. Let's see how that sounds. So you can just feel that. It does not sound healthy. There was still a little bit of a rattle up top, but you can hear it's like wham, wham, like it's screaming. It's asking for fuel. So I'm gonna go half a turn back out now. Hopefully you could hear that, how it sounded a little too menacing, and then I walked it back out a little more. It kind of calmed down a little bit, and then a little more. So four stroking is the sound after the high-pitched come up, where it goes wah, and then you'll hear up at the top of the power band there. And so that's the sound of the amount of fuel limiting the engine's RPM. Now in the cut, it's going to clean up right away, and it'll go back to that two-stroke whine. Another way to tell is if you're cutting and your saw doesn't immediately four-stroke after you let the load off, right? You're holding it wide open, you're in the cut, and then you back it off, you back the load off. If it doesn't change tune right away, then you're probably too lean. And a way to tell that is you'll take it out, and the RPM will increase a little bit before it four-strokes. But if you're running a good tune, it'll four-stroke right as soon as you let the load off. Yeah. That's kind of the basics. I encourage you to tune whenever you feel like it. And a hungrier chain is going to want a little more fuel. There's a whole world of little tiny changes and adjustments that you can make, but it's good to know just kind of the basics. And if you're, whenever in doubt, a little rich will be more in your favor than a little lean. Because you can clean a cylinder from carbon, but scoring is a little harder. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Have a great day, guys.